Okay, boys, let's talk about the rest of round one. I've already done a Clippers-Mavs video. I picked the Mavs. I did a Suns-Wolves video. I picked the Suns. Also, I should have mentioned in the last video that Duncan Robinson and Rozier were not playing for Miami. Unfortunately, Jimmy is hurt, and that super sucks. Okay, we are going to start with Sixers-Knicks, and we have the, 32-8 Sixers when Joel Embiid plays, if you want to count the play-in. It's not technically a game on the record, whatever. And then we have the Knicks, who are 20-3 when OG plays. Of course, Embiid's health is the biggest thing here. I mean, we assume he's going to play every game. It's more so stamina and, can he get high up on Brunson screens and still do everything on the other end, that type of stuff. Or will he have to conserve energy by dropping back on defense more often and stuff like that? So I just took a look at their one of the regular season matchups after the Knicks traded for OG. The game was a little weird because, Randall was playing, Quentin Grimes was still on the Knicks, stuff like that, but it was an okay enough benchmark. They started with OG on Maxey. And so as far as OG trying to fight around screens on Maxey, guarding him one-on-one, if OG's really fighting around those screens well on Maxey, then you could have iHeart play farther back on the Embiid screens. But, that could be a little scary because Embiid can flow into his pull-up too all day, as long as Maxey just hits him with that little bounce pass. I do think OG gives you the option to switch that action. Now, you'd probably then bring two, but OG is strong enough to where Joel wouldn't be able to just, mow him down in the paint, you know what I mean? Now, this is all assuming that, again, OG is on Maxey, which I'm just kind of guessing because I just think Tibbs is hardwired to be put OG on best opposing ball handler, but I can always be wrong. I am also expecting Maxey to try to get Brunson switched onto him. We have to see how the Knicks would want to counter, whether it's a hedge and recover with OG, fighting around. I imagine we're going to see a similar thing on the other end where Brunson's going to be trying to go at Maxey. Now, as far as guarding Joel face-ups, Joel post-ups, the whole thing, I would assume the Knicks are going to try to make Embiid's life hell. Okay, I mean, looking at the regular season matchup, one random play where Precious is fronting the post on Joel, and then OG helps on the baseline to bring the double. I assume you could put Josh Hart in that spot. DiVincenzo had some plays where he would take really quick swipes at Embiid and actually cause at least one steal that I remember in the regular season matchup. I can see Josh Hart definitely just helping in the paint. And of course, you're going to see iHeart or Mitch on Joel initially a lot, and I mean those guys have been sturdy. When Mitch, we'll still see if he's 100%. But for some context here, when OG has been on the court, the Knicks' defensive rating has been 101, which is an insane number. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, look, the Sixers would love to have just a solid Tobias Harris series. You don't even have to be amazing, just be solid. We saw Batum's three-point shooting in the play-in game. We know what Buddy can do and the movement he can provide and everything. But this is going to come down to Joel, his health and all that. Now, on the other side, before we get into the other series, the Sixers do have some options on Brunson. If you want to put Lowry on him for a like-sized guy who's just strong as hell, you can do that. If you want Batum on him for more length, you can go there as well. If you want just more athleticism on him, you can go Oubre. I mean, they've got options. I'm not really going to confidently say what they're going to go with. Melton is not going to play in game one. If he's able to play, that could be another option too. Batum was on Brunson a lot in the game that they played this year where the teams were pretty much healthy. So, okay. But a big thing is going to be what Joel wants to do in drop defense and then Jalen Brunson coming off of these screens. And if the screen navigation is not there to make Brunson uncomfortable and he's able to flow into pull-up twos or, pull-up threes, then that's probably going to be a tough time for Philly because Brunson, I mean, he's just been going crazy for a while now. And so then it's okay, well, do you want to have Joel higher up on these screens? Well, we don't know the state of Joel Embiid. If he was 100%, yeah, I think he could play high on Brunson screens and then still do everything on the other end of the floor. And then around that, you've got DiVincenzo, who's just been a gunslinger lately from three. I mean, his attempts have been wild, but he's been making them. You've got Josh Hart screening on the ball for Brunson to give him more offensive variety. You've got iHeart and his floaters, or, I mean, if Joel Embiid is daring iHeart to just make a play, but he's playing way off of him, iHeart will close the gap on that and try to make a play at the rim. And then you've got all the Knicks offensive rebounding as well, where you just constantly have to worry about him. You got to worry about iHeart, you got to worry about Mitch, Precious if he ends up playing, you got to worry about Josh. I think I am leaning Knicks in potentially 7 games. I think at the least we're going 6. Sixers fans, I'm sorry. If you could promise me that Embiid was 100%, I'd probably end up on the other side. Now we go to the Lakers and the Nuggets. I'm going to pick the Nuggets to win this series. But let's talk about it. So, we've already seen Rui on Jokic this season. I imagine we're still going to see some of that with AD being able to help off of Gordon. We could still see AD on Jokic some, to be clear. And you know what? Let's do the Anthony Davis spiel right now. So, I know that Zion had success going at AD on screen actions in the play-in game, but AD should be a lock for first-team defense. I think the fact that I've seen him not on some people's is just kind of insane. And with the levels he went to defensively last playoffs, where he pretty much single-handedly walled off the paint versus the Grizzlies and then was one of the most versatile defenders you could imagine against the Warriors. It's like, whether it's AD as a help defender, whether it's AD guarding Jokic, I feel like at this point the Lakers lean more towards Rui on Jokic and AD as the help guy. Can always be wrong there, but like, look, I don't know if it's possible to really slow down the Nuggets offense in a playoff setting, okay? What I will say is, with where we have seen AD get to defensively in the playoffs, him as a help guy versus it, if that is not the thing that can do it, I don't know if anything can. The other possible one being the Wolves, but they've got their own can of worms to deal with right now. I would also like to think my Celtics could throw some things at him, but if that's going to happen, we got to wait a minute. So we'll see with that. Of course, bringing help off of Gordon with his dunks and the lobs that he can get from Jokic, it's tough stuff. Nothing's easy against the Nuggets. As far as AD on offense, I mean, he's going to have opportunities going to Jokic in the post, going to Jokic on drives, going at like a dropping Jokic off of screens with D'Lo and Reeves. And the thing with Jokic is like, yeah, he's big and strong. It's not the easiest thing in the world to just score over that dude all the time. Like, I get it. He's not going to be on an all-defense team, even if I think he proved to a lot of, let's say, skeptics that he's way better on defense than they were giving him credit for. So we'll just see. Maybe we can get into like Jokic pick-and-roll coverages in a second, but yeah, that's the AD spiel. And then after that, it just becomes the million-dollar question with Jokic, which is, what are we doing? Single coverage? Is it double on the catch, double on the move, bring the double from the baseline? If I can give one shout-out to someone who does not need it, to be clear, but it's a Cranjus McBasketball or Tim_NBA on Twitter, who logged every single Jokic post-up this year, and his conclusion basically was bringing help from the opposite side of the floor has been the most effective way to guard Jokic post-ups, and to be clear, it's still Jokic, but that seems to be the closest thing to a good option you got. So we'll see there. As far as guarding Murray, I mean, you got options. You got Gabe, you got Spence, Reeves or D'Lo are going to end up on him too, of course, because those are just your starting fives. I'm not going to confidently say this is the right defender for Murray. I don't know who it is. I think we're going to see a bunch of dudes, and maybe somebody will have success fighting around screens, holding up on him in one-on-ones. Granted, Denver, not a heavy ISO team, of course. Now, we did see Cam Reddish on Murray in one of their regular season matchups, and that was the one that I took a look at for this. Murray was cooking Reddish in that matchup. Also, Reddish, as far as rotations-wise, he's been kind of up and down lately on his minutes. And then as far as Gordon, MPJ, KCP, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, all the guys, like, yeah, we know what it is. It's Denver's offense, the DHOs, it's the existence of Jokic, and it's, you get it. If we can go to the other side, and yes, the Lakers will dare Aaron Gordon to make threes and all that. We understand. I feel like the key to the series is D'Lo, who's probably going to have KCP on him. He had Christian Brown on him in the game that I looked at. You can replace Christian Brown for KCP when he starts, you know what I mean. No, Bruce Brown's not here anymore, who gave D'Lo fits in the last playoffs, but also the Nuggets still have good perimeter defenders here, and I mean, I'm talking about AD, a lock for first team. I think KCP's got a very good shot for second team defense. I do think that Jokic will probably be in a mix of at the level on pick and rolls or dropping on screens when it's D'Lo and Reeves. Like, looking at the game, it's really a mix. Like, sometimes he's up high on LeBron, who's typically making the right pass. This is just from the regular season game I looked at. If he's dropping back, then it's going to be more daring guys to make pull-ups. And so I do think the D'Lo pull-ups, the D'Lo like snaking screens to get away from like KCP enough, which could potentially like force a Jokic switch and all that, that'll be big. And of course the screen navigation is going to be big here, but we know KCP does that well. As far as LeBron, I mean, he's probably not going to be as gassed as he was last conference finals because he's not dealing with the foot thing, and also it's not the conference finals, so he doesn't have a bunch of games played on top of they're playing every other day because it's round one, right? And so if that means just being able to like mismatch hunt a little bit more often, whether it's him screening or getting screens from the guards or whoever to get like the Murray switch and stuff. Anyway, I'm going Nuggets in 5 or 6 games. Now we go Pacers Bucks. Yeah, this is dicey for the Bucks, man. We just do not know the status of Giannis. Halliburton's got his hamstring injury that he's playing, and sometimes he looks better, but he also has some games where you're just like, oh, he's clearly not the same dude. With even that said, the Pacers, they're still the Pacers. They're pushing off of makes. They're pushing off of misses. They've got screen actions all over the place. They've got Turner spacing them out. They have Turner doing pick and pops. And, for the Bucks case, even the idea of like him spacing out, and then Brook obviously doesn't want to be up there all the time. He wants to be protecting the rim because that's what's best for the Bucks defense. And so then somebody else is going to have to rotate over to Turner, or you're having Brook just guarding somebody else. That's a whole thing you got to deal with. Then we're thinking about just how Siakam fits into all this, where he can bring the ball up himself. They can find him in transition. He can screen for Nembhard. He can do a little quick brush screens with Halliburton, which sometimes gets the switch. But then he can be the release valve for them, like in the middle of the floor, where then he can go at the smaller guy. I mean, I guess it's Pat Bev on Halliburton because Doc moved Pat Bev into the starting 5. I mean, I suppose you could see some Crowder on him. Will they try Andre Jackson, Beauchamp? I don't know. And we have seen the Bucks perimeter defense at one time get super torched by Halliburton. Later on, Doc comes over and the defense has improved. The overall thing has not really improved that much, and we've had quotes that are not good. But again, Giannis and Middleton's health still matter a lot there. Bucks also have to be ready for the TJ McConnell show with just the pull-up twos and the way he's flying off of these screens. I assume that we are going to see Nembhard or Nesmith on Dame. My bet would be more so Nembhard. And, okay, you're going to see Miles Turner having to guard Dame pick and rolls, and we know what it can be with Dame. We know that the shot making can be insane. I don't think it would shock anybody if Dame had a 6-game stretch in the series where he averaged like 32 a game on 45% shooting, taking like 10 threes a game. I mean, you got Middleton's health where sometimes he's flowing into those pull-up twos and creating enough separation, and other times he just kind of scores like 7 points. Although I would say the good games are outweighing the bad ones for Middleton when he's able to get out there right now. If Giannis does play, I think the Siakam-Giannis matchup is just kind of probably where it ends up. I mean, sure, the Pacers, like we've seen Nesmith this year get reps on Giannis. Of course, every team thinks about putting their center on Giannis. I mean, it feels like making a prediction, it's like so up in the air on this one because it's like I don't know what to do with Giannis. I mean, it's scary time for the Bucks, okay? We'll just put it like that. They need a really good game one. Of course, Bobby Portis could save them and just make a whole bunch of shots. That's always on the table. Okay, now it's time for real hoop, the real part of this video, Cavs Magic, where there is a lot of pressure on Cleveland where they have to win this series. And with the Magic, they won 47 games, man. They're sitting pretty. The defensive matchups are fun, between Suggs being on Garland or Mitchell, whichever one, take your pick, really. I can already foresee the Magic, or I'm going to predict that they're going to try to put 2 to the ball on either one of those guys. They're going to dare the bigs to make plays. And just to do a little Evan Mobley spiel, the 3-point rate was still not very high to end the regular season. He basically took 2 a game. There was one game where he took 4 threes. Now, he did have some 20-point games. He also had some games where he creeped up to like 5 assists per, so I don't want to act like he was not doing anything on offense. I do think people sometimes go a little too far with their critiques of Mobley on offense. When he's got the ball just in the middle of the floor around the free throw line, whether it's going to be a floater, whether it's going to be like 1 or 2 power dribbles into a hook shot, you gotta be able to convert enough of those. I mean, I was looking at like his stuff against the Clippers, like where he had like 20 points. You got to play where Zubats is giving him all the space in the world. Mobley closes the distance, puts his shoulder into him, hits him with a little hook shot underneath the rim. I mean, I did this whole thing last year. I thought he was ready to go, and then he wasn't ready to go against the Knicks. So we're gonna see. And it's a similar thing with Jared Allen, to be fair. And of course, we will see just how often Cleveland is getting Allen and Mobley into like DHO actions and not just screen for Mitchell or Garland all the time stuff. We will also see just how many minutes Jonathan Isaac gets. I think the doomsday scenario for Cleveland is that their offense is already bothered by Orlando's defense before Jonathan Isaac even enters the game. And so that's Suggs or Gary Harris just doing a good job on Mitchell and Garland fighting around those screens, or maybe Wendell's playing higher up on those actions to kind of stifle him for a moment, and then perhaps Paolo is then sliding over as a help defender or Franz as a help defender. Like if Cleveland can't figure that out, and then you got to deal with Isaac, you might just be done. Because once Isaac gets in there, and to be clear, Cleveland will dare Isaac to beat them on offense, but once Isaac gets in the game, whether he's on Mobley, whether he's on Allen, whether he's potentially helping off of somebody like a wing, I mean, even then like Okoro, he's been better this year with his threes, still not super high rate. You might help off of him, I don't know. The point being is Isaac, he's just going to be a wrecking crew. It's going to be rim protection, it's going to be help, it's going to be everything. Now, of course, Max Strus's existence and his movement definitely helps with all this for Cleveland. But look, if this is going to be a defensive series, I would guess. I think Cleveland on the other end, they're going to dare basically the entire team to beat him with jump shots. I mean, like we see what Franz's 3-ball has been this year. Like they're going to dare him to shoot. They're probably going to go under screens on Paolo. As far as who guards Paolo, you got a couple options. I mean, I think Mobley's the easiest one to imagine, especially if Strus is starting, because you're not going to put the guards on Paolo, and I doubt you're going to put Allen on him. I think Okoro could get minutes on him if you're comfortable with having Mobley help somewhere else. Would be a nice series for Dean Wade, but he's hurt. And for Paolo, I mean, I think one of two things is going to happen with Paolo in this series, whether it's Mobley on him for more length, whether it's a wing on him to just like, a little more strength, just going at him like that, is will Paolo consistently be finishing inside, kind of bullying dudes, or is he going to be forced to pick the ball up a lot of the time around, 13 feet from the rim or so? And that's with Cleveland, sending extra help on him and stuff like that. I'm going to pick Cleveland because I just think it's going to be a little too tough for the Magic to score. But look, man, the Cavs have not had great energy the past few weeks. Whereas it seems like the Magic, again, they have no pressure whatsoever. They've been a really good team the past few weeks as well. Defensively, they can slow down Cleveland just as much as the Cavs. We think in theory can slow down them because Cleveland's defense has been slipping lately. But I just keep coming back to, I think the Cavs are going to dare the Magic to beat them from outside. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. But I am going to go with the Cavs in like 6 or 7 games. I think the Magic are going to be like a big headache. Also, shout out to Wendell because I didn't talk about him at all. I think that is it. I mean, we do have the 1-8 matchups. I think the Thunder are going to beat the Pelicans or the Kings. That's a very hot take, I know. And of course, you're taking the Celtics in their round 1 matchup. Between the Bulls and the Heat, we'll see with that play-in game. It sucks that Jimmy's out, man. And yes, I've been saying all season I'm terrified of the guy, because I am, no doubt about it. You saw what happened in the playoffs. And of course, I would have picked the Celtics to win against Miami, but also there just would have been that very small thing there going, by the way, this could happen. It probably won't again, but it could happen. And now with Jimmy out, yeah, you feel for him, man. You know what's crazy? I'm still scared of Spoelstra even if Jimmy's not there.